Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a super important skill for any language teacher: how to look at a piece of student writing and know exactly what to teach next. It's a process called needs analysis, and honestly, it's a total game changer.
So, here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with the one single question you should be asking yourself every single time you look at a student's work. Then, we'll get into that first critical decision. Are we focusing on vocabulary or are we focusing on grammar? From there, we'll actually put it into practice with some real examples, figure out how to match the lesson to the right student level, and finally, we'll dig into why this skill is really at the heart of what being a great teacher is all about.
You know, every time a student hands something in, it's like a little snapshot of their language ability at that exact moment. The real trick and the real opportunity is knowing how to read that snapshot correctly. Okay, so imagine this lands on your desk. It's a pretty solid piece of writing, right? It's clear, it's descriptive. It's good. But as a teacher, you know that good isn't really the goal. Good doesn't tell you how to help this student get to great. And that's our challenge.
This right here, this is the single most important question you can ask. And answering it isn't about guesswork. It's about having a system, a diagnostic tool, that turns you from just a corrector into a real teacher. And that whole process starts with one big decision you have to make right at the beginning.
So what is that first decision? Well, before you even think about planning a lesson, you have to choose a path. Are you going to focus on the words themselves or the rules that hold all those words together?
Think of it like this. On one side, you've got lexis. That's just the fancy word for all the vocabulary, the words, the phrases, the building blocks. And on the other side, you've got grammar. That's the architecture, the blueprint for how all those blocks fit together. Your very first job is to decide which of these two areas needs your attention the most.
So, how do you choose? Well, it actually comes down to a really simple but incredibly powerful rule of thumb. Look for mistakes. Specifically, look for grammatical mistakes. If you see errors in the sentence structure, the verb tenses, pronouns, that's it. That's your signal. The path is clear. You're going to teach a grammar lesson.
But what if the sentences are all grammatically correct? What if the structure is sound? Well, that's your signal too. It means you can confidently put grammar to one side and shift your entire focus over to the vocabulary, the lexis. You're not fixing the engine anymore, you're upgrading the cool features.
Okay, now for the fun part. Let's take this whole lexis or grammar framework and apply it to a few different examples. This is how we get really good at pinpointing exactly what to teach.
All right, let's go back to our first example, the one about the birds. We apply our rule. Are there any grammatical errors? Nope, the sentences are perfectly correct. So we know right away, without a doubt, our lesson is going to be all about lexis.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Because we've decided it's a lexis lesson, we can go way beyond just teaching a list of random words. For instance, we can teach a lexical set. That's a group of words all about the same topic, like eagles, hawks, and falcons. Or we can teach collocations, words that just naturally go together, like keen eyesight or strong talents. We can even pull out super useful phrases like everything from A to B. See how rich that is?
Okay, let's try another one. This text is about guard dogs. Let's do a quick scan. Nope, no grammatical mistakes here either. The structure is solid, so we know exactly where this is going. It's another lexis lesson.
And just look at how much material we can pull from just these few sentences. We could teach opposites, like save and danger. We can find these really powerful collocations, like pose no harm. And we can teach some incredibly useful phrases, like in the face of a threat. This is a total goldmine for a vocabulary lesson.
All right, now for something completely different. Take a look at this one. Something should immediately jump off the page at you. Loyal to we? Help they? Uh-oh, the grammar alarm bells are definitely ringing now.
Yeah, this one is a clear-cut case. The repeated grammatical errors basically make the decision for us. This has to be a grammar lesson. We're not worried about fancy vocabulary here. We're fixing the fundamental wiring of the sentences. The obvious teaching point is object pronouns, helping the students see the difference between we and us and they and them.
Okay, so you've figured out what to teach, lexis or grammar. But that's really only half the battle. You also need to know who you're teaching it to and what level of complexity they're actually ready for.
Now, to do this like a crow, teachers use standardized scales, and one of the most common ones you'll see is the CEFR.
You can basically think of it as a roadmap of language proficiency that helps you make sure your teaching is perfectly calibrated. The scale runs all the way from A1, which is a complete beginner, up to C2, which is near native level. Knowing roughly where your student falls on this scale is crucial for making sure your lesson isn't way too easy or just frustratingly difficult.
So now let's map our examples onto at scale. Remember the text with the pronoun errors? That's classic A2 level stuff, so it needed a fundamental grammar lesson. But our B1 level birds of prey text, the Lexis lesson there could focus on good, solid topic vocabulary. And for the more advanced B2 guard dogs text, the Lexis lesson could push into much more sophisticated phrases and expressions. You see? The level totally changes the lesson. So we've learned how to figure out what to teach, and at what level. But why does this technical skill matter so much? Because this goes way beyond just grammar rules and vocab lists.
To really get why, it helps to think of professional teaching as standing on 4 key pillars. These are the 4 big areas that every single effective teacher is constantly working on.
They are your classroom management, your own command of the language, your relationship with your learners, and giving information. And this whole process we've been talking about, this needs analysis, it falls right under giving information, being able to give the right knowledge at exactly the right time.
Because really, at the end of the day, it all comes back to this one powerful idea. Needs analysis isn't just some dry clinical skill. It's the main way we actually listen to our students through their work. It's how we show them that we are here for them and that their needs are driving every single decision we make in the classroom.
By learning to read their writing not just for mistakes, but for their needs, you're doing so much more than just correcting homework. You're opening a direct line of communication, you're building a better lesson, and you're becoming a better teacher.